Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. We are going to be having a conversation with Isoke Edwards of Wellbeing Yoga. Normally we have the conversation before the session. I'm very glad that we did it the other way around. Looking forward to this one. Isoke, I want to thank you for making the time. And like I said, we had this session before. What are some of the influences? Because someone said we're lucky that this is not power yoga. So what was the session or the influence of the session that you just went through?
Well, I didn't want to half kill you.
Thanks.
On your first class, I would like for you to come back. So I didn't go too hard. And you know, as a yoga teacher, one of the things that you learn to do is read the room. And so I had someone in the class, 2 people besides yourself, that hadn't moved in a long time. So I don't want to put anybody in danger. I want to keep people safe, first and foremost. I want you to feel comfortable, feel challenged, but not overwhelmed. So I didn't go too hard on you this morning. But did you enjoy?
I did. And the fact that you talk about reading the room is something that I was thinking about. I was thinking about that word grace. You use the word grace, but even before you use that word grace, because I realized that doing the same movement on one side didn't necessarily feel identical when I tried it on the other side.
And that's fantastic that your instincts kept you in check with your body like that. A lot of the times we move through the world and we're not aware of how we feel as we move through the world. And that was brilliant that you were having those conversations with yourself. How do I feel on this side? How do I feel on this side? What's different? How did I feel coming into the room? How do I feel now? How do I feel at the end? Those conversations, that self-talk is a big part of a yoga practice. You learn how to talk to yourself. And a lot of us don't have very good conversations with ourselves, huh?
And even like in terms of talking to self, one of the things that I was grappling with for a split second is the fact that there were two males with bodies that are kind of comparable. So at a point in time, I was like, okay, I wonder they get in it, or is this a challenge to see who could do it? But then no, it's about you. And let's do what we need to for ourselves.
Yes, this is a time and a space that you carve out for yourself. There's no judgment in this space, no judgment allowed. You're not looking at anybody. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody, this is really about self-care, putting yourself first. And how can you show up for other people in your life if you're not showing up for yourself? And so that's the premise of this thing. How do we show up for ourselves in this space, on this mat? And how do you continue to take that sentiment into the rest of your life? You have to fuel yourself first. Water your grass, and so that you can feed everybody else.
That reminds me of Stigma from Dead Press saying that the yoga mat is more than life. I mean, is a metaphor. Yeah. And but there's something that you said at the beginning of the practice in terms of this is a breath-based practice. And sometimes you see people doing all kind of things, how they fit up themselves into that position. But take me back to the importance of the breath, please.
Well, the breath is life. Come on, without it, we're not here. We're not alive. And so the breath is the line, the string that connects body, mind, spirit, whatever you perceive spirit to be, because, everybody feels about that differently. And one of the things that I'm very intentional about is not really defining that for people. Whatever you think spirit is fine for me, as long as you understand that this is a union of things that happens in this space. And so body, mind, spirit, and the breath is the through line. And so the breath is the catalyst for the movement. And the breath is almost like you keep checking in with yourself all the time, yeah? When you're thinking about the breath, you say, okay, inhale. What do I do next? Where do I go? How do I want to move, yeah? How much space can I give myself? How much grace can I give myself here? Can I go a little further? Do I need to pull back? Because a lot of the times, if you have a personality like mine, you want to go hard, 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 hard. But hard is not always good. And pain does not equate to progress. And so sometimes the biggest lesson can be, how do I step back and allow myself the grace to be present, to feel the movement, and to benefit from it, to receive the medicine. Yeah?
So, and I want to take those words in terms of stepping back. So let's step back and give me a little idea about your journey to the point that we can be sitting on these yoga blocks, not chairs, speaking about you being here in this moment, Wellbeing Yoga. How did you come to yoga?
I don't really know. My dad is an initiate of Raj Yoga. He's never practiced, he's never had an asana practice, which is the physical practice of this. This is actually the base, the lowest level in a yoga practice, you know. And when you think about everything, flesh is carnal. It's as base as you get, right? So this is not even top tier. You know, we're talking about Raj Yoga practice where he's doing yoga of the mind. You know, so he was, or is rather, a master, an initiate of Raj Yoga, and he never spoke to me about yoga. Never. We never had a conversation about it. You know, and I somehow stumbled into this aspect of it. And I have really, it's been up and down for me. I've committed to this now in that I'm one of those people that I'm good at a lot of things. And so I get distracted very easily. And I had my 2 children, and where I found myself was, who am I? What do I want to do with my life? I have these 2 children, they've consumed me, they've consumed everything, my life is about them. And I'm having a hard time pinning down what I want to do. And my husband said to me, what's the thing that you keep coming back to? What's your lifeline? And I'm like, well, movement. Movement has always been important to me. I started this yoga practice not wanting to teach, but wanting to deepen my practice. And so one of the ways to do that is to do a teacher training. And so I went into it thinking, okay, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that, I want to go deeper into the yoga, but I have no interest in teaching people. I don't even think I like people, you know, and here I am, right? Interacting with people every day, all types of people, and it's really filled my heart. I feel full. I feel there's a sense of gratification that can be very overwhelming sometimes. It's like just yesterday I was having the conversation that I feel as if I am living, breathing my purpose now. And it's always been there. It's always been there in the background. I've always been teaching, a class here, a class there. But now I feel as if I'm settling into it. You know, so it's always been there.
We're going to settle a little further into the conversation. When we return, we are speaking with Isoke Edwards of Wellbeing Yoga. Stay with us. We come back after this. Welcome back. We are speaking with Isoke Edwards of Wellbeing Yoga. And one of the things I want to ask about, that mindset transitioning into intentional teaching, as opposed to say, okay, well, I'll teach a class here, or I might fill in for somebody here, but saying, okay, well, this is something that I am doing on a consistent basis. Take me through that process.
So there was a point where I didn't want to teach at all. You know, I felt like, oh, this is not for me. You know, too many personalities, too many people coming through the door. It takes a lot of your energy. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like if I have so much to share, so much to give, and so much to learn. And I'm very surprised at how even this practice, teaching, has become a practice, yeah? It's like a practice in and of itself. And so I show up here every day, and I expect to be giving so much, but my students give so much. They teach me so much, and that has become so important to me. So I don't think I will stop. I think And I'm excited about the prospect of building a community. That really excites me. People of like mind, that interested in wellness, holistic wellness, interested in how to eat, how to move, how to live, how to shop, all these things that are centered around just doing things in a better way for the environment, for yourself, for your family. I'm very much interested in all those things. And so my partner and I, Tobias, the body architect, we are of like mind, and we have a vision of creating a wellness community. So that's really what is the driving force behind what I'm building now.
And in terms of building and looking at you as a holistic individual, there are other things that you do outside of strictly yoga.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some of those things?
I love fitness. I love any kind of movement. I have a dance background. I grew up dancing with Noble Douglas. Studied fine arts at Howard University, and of course dance and movement, huge in any fine arts curriculum. And so movement has always been very important to me, and especially now, I'm 42, going on 43, and I find that the movement keeps my mind sound. There's so much, especially for moms, so many people pulling and tugging at us. And we live in a world where, it's depression, anxiety, and sometimes I feel like, these things affect me. I feel anxious, I feel depressed about certain things, but the movement, my husband always says, you're so much nicer when you're moving. And so I have to do this. This is necessary. And if there are other people that must feel the way that I do, other people that need to know how to move well, because it's not just about moving, it's about moving well for your body type, for your personality. And sometimes you go into a class and the class is like a general wash, right? The instructor expects for everybody to do the same thing the same way. But that can't work, because we're all in different bodies, we're all in different minds. And so I want that type of space where people come in and they feel they can be free to move as themselves.
And that's one of the things I wanted to ask, because sometimes people may think yoga or a movement practice, because some people, I remember one person saying, no, I don't do yoga because that is not of Christ, and that goes back to your conversation.
That's one of the things that I stay away from. Your relationship with your God of your understanding is your relationship with your God of your understanding. That's not my business. And I think there's room for that in, yes, we define things, and so we call this yoga. But I'm beginning to think about even the practice differently now, just for myself. It's more about not restrictions, but how open can you be in the practice? What does breathing look like for you? It may not look like that for me, and that's okay. Because if this practice is about self, then it has to be about doing things that is good for you, that works for you. If this is a self-care practice, if this is about you growing and becoming a better person, we all don't look the same. And so we can't move the same. We can't do things the same. And I want people to feel as if there's space for that. And so we use blocks, we use straps, we use all these props, because you may need 2 blocks, I may not need a block, but that doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're made differently.
And even going further than physical, or looking within that person, different people come from different spaces, have different backgrounds, experiences, and the way that you may be encouraging individuals to breathe from their diaphragm may help to unlock certain things in terms of memories, emotions. How do you navigate that, both the physical as well as that emotional side, while knowing that everyone is their own person? And I go back to the example you gave, where the class may just be almost like totally different, apart from the fact that people are present. But it's different in their
things
presence.
happening. Yeah, and so that is a skill that I'm cultivating every day. I don't think that it will ever be, I will ever be able to say I'm a master, because every day a different person shows up. So there's something to learn more, something different. So I just like you have to stay flexible on your mat, I have to stay flexible as a teacher, because it's always changing, it's ever changing in the present moment. And so that's most important in the practice. But in terms of showing up, it's just that, just being present for people, just holding space for people. And just the other day, I had somebody come in here, and I'm so happy that she was the only person that showed up for the class, because she needed that. She needed to bawl her eyes out. At the end of the class, I turned around, and she was bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, you know what? Everything is always in divine order, because the teacher, the business person in me was like, oh God, only one person showed up, but that needed to be that way because she needed the time and the space to have that moment. And all I needed to do was just be quiet and just show up for her.
How important is it that your partner shows up for you and is able to say, well, what drives you, what moves you, you're so much nicer when you move, and encourage you to be the best version of yourself?
Well, I don't know what I did in a past life to deserve him. I tell people all the time, Johann St. Marshall is the best human being that I have ever encountered in my life. I have never met a person that does not like my husband, that is not enchanted by his personality. He is just the kindest, most observant, and accommodating person that I've ever met. And to deal with somebody like me, you had to be those things. You had to be those things, because I'm not an easy person. And this practice has really worked for me to help me be a better person in conjunction with his care and his attention. He keeps me grounded, he keeps me accountable. I don't always like it, but it's important to have that rock, that person that's going to keep you in check. And he is definitely that person for me. I say all the time, I do not know. And kudos to parents out there doing it by themselves, but I couldn't. I can't see myself doing it without him. Father, top-notch. Partner, top-notch. Human being, top-notch. Me, not so much.
But with that though, because we have about 1.5 minutes, but there's so many things we didn't talk about steaming as yet, or some of the other business pursuits. So wrap a bow on this and put some of that into it, including contact information. But I also want to know, what do you take from the mat, from the practice, and try to use throughout?
So first and foremost, Wellbeing Yoga is about community. It is about sharing. And Tobias Otley of The Body Architect is my partner in this, and we have a vision of crafting not just a physical community, but a heart community where we have like-minded people that come together, yes, in a physical aspect, but we're thinking, we're feeling, we're living on the same wavelength. And we have a very clear vision for that. For instance, in October, we will be having our first yoga retreat. So yoga and wellness retreat, so you can look forward to that. It'll be a one-day retreat, but these are the things that we're working towards. Spaces where people can grow, develop, sharing. One of the things that I keep at the forefront of my brain these days is that it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. And so I want to keep sharing with people. I want to keep teaming up. I want to keep connecting. Because if this is what I'm talking about in my classes, I have to live it in real life. Yeah. But in terms of the business, there's yoga. I have women's work that I do, and there will be a lot of events centered around that women's work. And I work with women for reproductive health. I have yoni steams or vaginal steams and other products that assist with feminine reproduction and feminine health. And I am a licensed peri-steam hydrotherapist, one of the few licensed in the country. And so again, women's work is top of the list for me. I'm 42, I'm heading into perimenopause, and that's going to be a huge issue that I will be trying to address for women in my age bracket. There's a lot happening when you get into your 40s, and so there's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to share, and I want to do that through this business. But besides that, I'm coming from an athletic background. My husband is an ex-professional footballer, and I have the desire to work with athletes. You know, I see myself in my mind's eye. It mightn't be happening in real life, but as an athlete, you know, as this yoga thing is not just, it's like a sport for me in some ways.
Chaturanga.
Yeah, that chaturanga is no joke. That chaturanga is no joke, you know, and just like other sports people may feel, this practice is serious business for me. So all those things, I hope to bring them together. Kids, I did my first Mommy and Me yoga class for Mother's Day. It was sensational. The room was packed with mommies and little ones. So I think that might be a thing for me. And I'm surprised because I didn't think that outside of my children, I would enjoy children. But I love it. So, you know, new things.
It depends, because sometimes you help to set the energy and intention, and people come and feel it and can move to suit sometimes. Yeah. But in terms of moving to suit, we need to move to suit with the time that we have, which is no more. But thank you very much, Isoke Edwards, Wellbeing Yoga, and on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.